Good luck.
Wow. What a sight, huh? This is phenomenal, folks. So Sue and I have been put in charge of gathering together some bits of Pat's life. It's a monumental task, and we only got a little piece of it, but here we go.
So there are hundreds of pictures we're going to view today, and we thought they were going to be right before us. But when you see those hundreds of snapshots of Paddy's life, they're pictures of a man with 1,000 hats who embraced life, gave generously, and laughed often. He played well with others, from his incredible knowledge and collection of music to activities, whether on water, on snow, or by the fire with a glass of wine. He enjoyed his play most with friends. Paddy entered many professions and mastered forestry, carpentry, surveying, river rafting, and childcare work, to name some. And he went to school to learn more in Terrace and here at Northwest Community Colleges. A jack of all trades. His name should have been Jack. A master of many. Most. All of us are here together today. All of us are together today to share our pain of our loss, of not growing old with Pat. But we're also here to share our joy of Pat in our lives. We each have our own perception of our friend Paddy. Every one of us is fortunate. He lives in you. That's your mic.
I guess I shouldn't forget that since my name is Mike. So that's we're about 10% of the way through this thing. We feel privileged to share Pat, our view of Pat with you today. So let us go back to the beginning. Born on May 8th, 1962, probably not very many people know this, on an Air Force base in Germany. Pat was born in Germany and still has a German birth certificate. I saw it the other day. It's quite bizarre. It's quite bizarre. Pat was the middle child, his older brother Pete, and his younger sister Brenda. Where am I?
You lost it?
Yeah, already. Oh yeah, here we go. Pete tells us he's always looked up to Paddy, even upgrading his kickboxing skills to try and keep up with Paddy's boxing skills through their teen years, until Paddy's mentor and coach died and Paddy retired from boxing, heartbroken because of the loss of his mentor. The Desmerais family moved back from Germany to the Maritimes, and then the boys moved to Winnipeg with their dad, Jean-Paul Desmerais, and their sister, Brenda, moved to Ottawa with their mom, Fran. Fran often said, and still says today, I miss my boys. I wish my boys were here with me. Am I still going, or are you going?
I'm good.
Okay, good.
Fran also says, I'm proud of my boys. And my dog. It was after his high school years, we became one of the privileged friends of Paddy. Paddy, at 18 years old, joined us at Lakehead University in Northern Ontario. Talking to a group of his friends, who introduced me to Skype last night for the first time, because they all gathered on Vancouver Island. Some of them flew in from Salmon Arm to have the group of the old boys gather, and so we joined in. But they reminded us, as did Pete, of how Paddy would show up for school straight out of the bush, a little disorganized, without a place to stay, and chose to camp out in the woods across from the university. Pete told us a story of going to visit Pat during this time, giving him the directions to his place. Pat's place. It begins, stand in front of the university.
So when you get to the university, Pete, you go through the main gates, and then you turn 180 degrees, face the bush, go across the highway, just keep walking into the bush at about approximately 97 degrees, walk 180 meters, which at the time was 18 chains, because nobody had meters, we were still using chains at the time, and just, as you walk along, just start yelling my name. Pete thought this a little strange. He gets to the university grounds, turns around, walks across the highway, walks into the bush at, fairly, a close bearing, and it's going, Pat? Pat?
One more.
Pat?
Pete?
Pat?
Pete?
Pat?
Pete?
Pete? Pat? So lo and behold, between the the verbal communication, Pete walks into Pat's home, which consists of a two-man pup tent, a bunch of clotheslines hanging with stuff, and a fire going, and pots and stuff, and this is where Pat spent September and most of October, just about every year that he came back to university, because he just, he'd just come straight from the bush, and bingo, didn't have a place to live, and then, by mid-October, he and his buddies would get together and find a place for Pat to lay his head in a basement somewhere and spend the rest of the year there.
So lots happened as we found ourselves and what we call the flaming circle of friends. We learned how a circle of friends become a community. And as you all know, Pat was a leader in supporting people, giving generously of his skills and his time. It was during these years Patty took on the nickname Digger. And there are a few stories of Digger. Today, we'll tell you the name Digger was based on his extraordinary tree planting skills. He and a group of friends came west many years in a row to northern BC and rock the tree planting world. And our Digger could plant trees like there's no tomorrow, or, well, wait, maybe who's planting trees for tomorrow? I'm pretty sure. The boys, the group of them, who gathered together last night on Vancouver Island, reminded us that Digger was a record-holding production tree planter.
And I'll just add to that he never, ever had a quality issue.
It's supposed to be your part now.
What is your part? Oh, it is my part.
Keep going.
Okay. Oh, that was your part.
I know.
I'm sorry.
You stole my part.
Sorry. We did our best to get organized. As we entered the next phase of life, Patty became one of my mooring posts. So this really is my part.
Yeah.
Okay. We never know who will be our mooring posts. People we can count on around us to hold us in a storm. The first mooring that I remember really well of Patty was when I really needed to find Mike, and he was somewhere in northern Ontario. I want to shorten this story, but it was a time before cell phones or internet or Facebook. Many of us didn't even have a landline. For some of you, that's a phone that's in your house that's corded in. Anyways, I really needed to find Mike to tell him our contraception had failed. Sorry. Sorry, girls.
And that's the take-home message.
Sorry, girls.
So 2 weeks of driving, several thousand kilometers, asking around. Have you seen Mike? Have you seen Mike? Have you seen Mike? And a bartender in Atikokan, a small town, thought the boys were in Terrace. That was only 500 kilometers away. Well, I went there on blind faith, walked into a lodge on a lonely stretch of highway, walked into a crowded room of men in their bush gears, not smelling so good. But I was greeted by Patty's goofy grin and warm embrace, and instantly knew my quest was over and Patty became my mooring post. As we started the next phase of our life, as parents now, it was 1988 when life returned us all to Thunder Bay. Patty introduced us to his fiancée, Suzanne, and her newborn daughter, Vanessa. He married Suzanne in 1989 and soon after formally adopted his daughter, Vanessa Desmerais. They conceived another daughter and welcomed Chantel January 24th, 1990. Do I or don't I?
Go for it. Go for it. Oh yeah, she can take it.
Chantel, the golden girl. Well, you know, gold takes a lot of exploration, a lot of digging, a lot of hard work, some tenacious persistence to mine that gold, polish it off, and turn it into the jewel it can be. Chantel, Patty's golden girl. Patty, the dad, how his eyes sparkled, showing the love for his girls. And then Patty became an uncle to his sister Brenda's children, Leo, and then Sam, who live in Ottawa but are with us here today. Okay, I'm going to try and freelance something here for Brenda, then it's your turn. Okay. So one more story is that I'm going to wing. Brenda, Pat's younger sister's here, and Brenda's ex, Dennis, loved Pat and did some trips from Ottawa to Thunder Bay with Pat. And I hadn't mentioned Tripper or Sunny, Pat's beloved dogs at this point. But the dogs would be in the truck. What was it, a 94? No, not
1969 F-153 on the tree. Custom cab.
With no defrost. And so they'd be scraping the windows, and the dogs periodically would get into this fight on the front seats. And anyways, Dennis loved Patty. Is that good enough? Okay.
Good one. That was a winger, too. In the summer of 1990, sadly, we thought at the time, we all chose to move from Thunder Bay because we finally graduated and it was time to move on. And there was a kind of a recession in Thunder Bay anyways. Forestry was kind of going down hard there. So when I came to Smithers and old Patty Digger found work in Leduc, Alberta, unknowingly at the time, and this is a really weird coincidence, he was working in Leduc at the time, and it just so happened that this is the hometown where his future wife, Philippa, was living at the time. Weird. Where'd I go?
He came.
Oh, thank you. He came to Smithers that fall to visit and fell in love at first sight with Smithers. With his fierce determination, landed to work down the road at Silicon. He moved here with all his girls in the fall of 1991. The family separated, and it was time for Pat to, at this time, Pat had joined the Baha'i faith. Pat's heart was broken when the Desmerais' dad, Jean-Paul, passed away June 23rd, 1998. Pat found comfort in the fact that his dad had passed away doing what he loved, golfing. In fact, it was on the 7th tee at a course near Winnipeg where Jean-Paul took his last stroke. Coincidentally, Pat and I inherited both of our dad's golf clubs, and we started our annual, hopefully this doesn't sound crass, but we started a Dead Dads tournament. Now this wasn't really a big organized tournament, right? So what I'm saying, it looked like Pat and I getting to the golf course with his dead dad's clubs and me with my dead dad's clubs, and we just stack them with beer, and we go out in the course and we just play golf and drink beer. So that was pretty much the extent of our dead dad tourney. But we did it every year, and we just had a blast, of course. It was kind of a nice way to think about your dad, because both of our dads were avid golfers. So we were becoming adults.
A work in progress.
A work in progress. As a provider, Pat worked. He was a hard worker. Worked at KBM in Thunder Bay. Through the 90s, he started with Silvicon here in Smithers. Thank you. And then with Highland Forestry in 1998 and 99, he worked with Sam Hardy of Total Chance Layout doing silviculture surveys. Then he moved on to surveying with Steve Howard and Gavin Ten through the mid-2000s. In between these years, he also became an accomplished river guide with Dave Goebel. We've heard people refer to Philippa Beck as Paddy's soulmate. Their characters blended, and Paddy's spirit grew larger because of Pip, which is what he calls Philippa, was Pip. They united in their marriage May 23rd, 1999. There were some great stories of their marriage. Oh, I just thought of one. Can I throw one in? No, I'll do that later. And we hope some of you will share your recollection of these stories shared today. I also want to just say that we are going to have a little story time, and I really encourage people to come up and tell their stories. But I just got to tell this one, okay? So here we are, Paddy's wedding, right? And we've gone through the ceremony. We're in the reception. It's time to cut the cake, right?
Of course, the story has to be told.
Paddy goes into the shed, pulls out the still. Without a word of a lie, he cut the wedding cake with his chainsaw. Beautiful.
Sorry, Philippa.
Sorry, Pip. It's just one of those things. And so Paddy became a stepdad to Melissa, and now there are 3 daughters. We can't wait any longer to acknowledge Lowen, his daughter Lowen. Lowen, born in the spring of 2000, March 5th, 2000, as a matter of fact, a millennium daughter, who at the ripe old age of 12 is showing many characteristics and nuances of her dad.
My Paddy, my mooring post. I realized as I reflected on our relationship, Paddy was my guardian angel of Mike. Some people may have thought of him as Mike's little buddy, but as I was writing this morning, I look up in front of the computer as I'm trying to type, so I have a bigger font so I can read it right now. I look up and there's the bold, capitalized letters of what to do in an emergency. Get a hold of Digger, 847. Frig. Yeah, I'm going to wing one here. So even just as recently as this summer, Paddy was heading to Fort Mac with Mike, and this isn't I'm not going to get into politics here. They were looking at how trees regrow at some of those oil sands, how the trees are growing after the fact. Anyways, they went there, and I know it's a huge industry, and there's lots of rules, and people get kicked out of there for saying the wrong thing, sort of like going through security at an airport. And so I took Paddy aside and said, Paddy, can you reel him in? Can he keep him safe? Can he get the job done? And he assured me that he could do it because he had experience in the diamond mines up north, and he got Mike in and out of, yet again, another job. That one I didn't plan on saying. But one last story. I want to explain the few, we're getting close to the end here. I want to explain the few grey hairs on Patty's curly locks. There was a night in late September, only a few years ago. This isn't quite how I told the story the other night to a few people. But one night when Mike did not return from the bush, Mike didn't return, and it was Mika's first day of working with the boys in the bush. Mika was in the bush with Mike. Paddy was the check-in guy working with Mike. They were somewhere south of Burns Lake. Well, that night, Paddy stayed up and drove those roads. He came within 100 meters of the truck, which was left on the road with the doors open, the computer running. Paddy drove all night. He yelled for Mike and Mika, trying to find them. And he was the one that had to make the call to me and to Nick and to the RCMP. Oh, Mike and Mika, they have their story, and I have mine. And Paddy's the one who lived with the worry, and he didn't sleep. And he feared the worst at times that night and the next morning. And he was the one that had to make that call. And that's the night, not anything you girls did, that's the night he got those grey hairs.
Okay. Our Paddy, remembered best in his Carhartt dungarees and his Grey River shirt. This image and many other memories will stay with us forever. Thank you.
I said, do you want to play with us? Because I'm a little nervous. Philippa asked if Heather and I could sing a song, and we tried to go through a few songs the other night. It was pretty hopeless. So I said, well, why don't we sing this song called Arlington? And I think we passed it by Philippa, and she liked it. So. Jim, is your mic working?
Hello?
Yeah. Check.
Where do you go, little bird, when it snows? When it snows, when the world turns to sleep, do you know? Do you know? Is there something in the wind? Breeze a chill in your heart, life in your wings. Does it whisper, start again? Ooh, start again. Where is the sun in the night? Is it cold? Is it cold? Is there no death? Ooh, is there no death?
Thanks, you guys. And now Tim Chida is going to come up and share some reflections. Tim. Maybe I'll just add one more thing. I'm sure hearing all of these stories about Pat has brought many to mind for you, and I just wanted to make sure people know that at the end we're going to have an open mic, and we're all going to stay here as long as it takes to share all the stories. So keep those in mind. Maybe write down a note or two, and there's going to be a chance for you.
Philip asked me to speak today about community, about Pat's community, about our community. And as Sue and Mike were speaking, I couldn't help thinking about something I watched just a few nights ago, late at night, couldn't sleep, and it was Carl Sagan speaking. And he was describing how infinitely large the universe is, how these radio satellites collect just this infinitesimally small piece of light every night, and through time they gather an image of how enormous our galaxy is, our universe is, how it extends on and is growing. And then he moved to bring you into your body and into the infinitesimally small, into looking at our atoms and the molecules and how that just extends itself into this infinitesimally small space. And he brought that together and said that we're held here in the middle of those two places. And we're held here with these questions of mystery. And the question of mystery isn't necessarily answerable. But he said something that very much struck me, and I thought about it as I was listening to the speeches earlier. The question he asked is, in this divine space that we live in, how did we get here? Who created this? And did the gods create this and they're only dreaming of us? Or are we creating the gods by dreaming of them? And I have that same question right now in this mystery with Pat. Is Pat dreaming of us right now? Because we certainly are in this sacred place, remembering and reflecting on him. It's a deep mystery why we're here right now. Why Pat died? Why right now? I don't think all of that's answerable. Or maybe not very much of it is answerable. But there are things we know. We know we're here together because Pat's life has profoundly touched all of us. We know we're here together because Pat's love has profoundly touched all of us. A few nights ago at Mike's, Gavin said something to me, and he said, and it expresses all of this perfectly and beautifully. He said, Pat's light has reached in. It's reached into us and found us, and here we are. So what I know is that we're here to celebrate Pat's life and celebrate what Pat's brought and celebrate how we're joined together through that life and that love. And I know we're also here to mourn our loss. It's in this moment right now, this place, right here in time, right here in this hall, we're all here connected through Pat. And we're all here connected to Pat and with Pat. It is in this moment that Pat is the exact and detailed center of our community and our universe. And the love that we have for him is what keeps us together in this community and in this moment. As I was thinking about what I was going to say today, there was this other thought keep surfacing, and it was a part of a speech from Chief Seattle. And he said this, he says, "This we know, all things are connected, like the blood that connects one family. All things are connected." And in many ways, as community, we're family. Our lives and our families, that circle, those circles of our lives and the energy of our lives overlap. And we're dynamically intertwined. The circles of our lives and our families and our children, they overlap, and at the same time they dissolve. They dissolve because that line between family and community, at times of deeply feeling the love between us, just isn't there. It was this that Pat reminded me of. It was this every time I saw Pat, and every time he looked at me, and every time his eyes met my eyes, and every time he laughed, that he reminded me of this, that those lines are dissolved, and we're connected, and we're deeply connected to each other in this feeling and in this place of love. He did this somehow by never laughing at me. Which I may have given him an excuse or two to possibly do that at Wine Club. But he always just laughed with me. It was always with me. There was this feeling of acceptance and no judgment and belonging. And in Pat's ability to do that, in that laugh and in his eyes meeting, I think his natural gift was to give us permission to fully just be ourselves. He just gave us that permission with his laugh and with his eyes and with his smile to just fully be ourselves. He invited us into a deeper place of connection. And he knew that connection was in this community all around us. When he laughed with you. There was no judgment. There was an invitation. Pat, by his very nature, giving us that permission. And his laugh was a reminder that we're all here together, sharing this love. So how do we honor that now, and how do we hold the energy of this moment, celebrate his life, and move forward into the future? There's a Gnostic creation myth that goes something like this. In the beginning, the divine other created all that is, all matter, all space, and all time. And his wife, Sophia, his divine wife, Sophia, breathed life into that matter and into that space and into that time. And that love's embodied and trapped within us. It's held within us. It's held within our community. It's held within our bodies. And this matter and this energy, this is the energy of love that holds us together in community. So how do we honor Pat? Perhaps it is to remember that Pat reminded us of this so graciously. He reminded us that we are loved. And perhaps somehow he was reminding us that we are loved. Perhaps we can honor Pat simply by laughing together, being ridiculously foolish sometimes, And remind us of this by crying together. You know, by mourning what we lost and mourning what we're missing. Really embracing that sorrow. And through this sharing and remembering of Pat's laughter and his acceptance and his welcoming eyes, through this, perhaps we will breathe that life and that love into our community in every memory of him.
Olivia Ten and Gemma Casalco are going to come up and play some music for us.
Sere and dry, and the wind had come. Skyscrapers fell, and they crumbled to dust. Skeleton of steel were covered in rust, and everything I loved and feared had all at once disappeared. Colors that drained straight from the sky, and the cold came down and blanketed the earth. The mountains were really removed from the earth. The silver and gold had lost all its worth, and everything I loved and feared had all at once disappeared. Everything I loved and feared had all woke from a dream in a cold, cold sweat. I was full of doubt and deep regret, and suddenly it was all so clear to me. There was nothing left in which to believe, and everything I loved and feared had all at once disappeared. Oh, everything I loved and feared had all at once disappeared.
Thanks, you guys. So at this point, we would like to invite any of Pat's family members who wish to say something. And I believe Sam, Pat's niece, wishes. Do you want to come up and share a song with us? And then for the others, just feel free to come on up.
It's really great to see so many people out here for my uncle. I never got to see him very much, but times that I did, he was always smiling, always laughing, always looking at the positive side of everything. Here's to you, Uncle Pat.
I heard there was a secret chord that we could play to please the Lord, but you won't really care for music, do ya? It's not a cry that you hear at night. It's not someone to see light. It's so cold and broken. Hallelujah, 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 strong, but she needed proof. I saw her waving on the roof, her beauty in the moonlight. She tied you to a kitchen chair, broke your throne, she cut your hair. From your lips she drew hallelujah, hallelujah, maybe there's a God above, and all I've ever learned from love was how to shoot somebody. It's not a cry that you hear at night.
Feel like cold and so broken. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
not really good at public speaking, but I felt I owed it to my brother to take the courage to come up here and thank all of you. I look at everyone's faces here and I can see that he had so many friends that loved him. And a part of me is so envious of his life up here that I wasn't always a part of. I came up here a few times and enjoyed the scenery, the trails, walked, the whitewater rafting with my mother, which is a story in itself. Pat was a pillar in our family, and we're going to miss him a lot, but we'll never forget him, and he lives on in our hearts, and each and every one of you that have been blessed to know him, experience his friendship. Philippa, he loved you so dearly, and I am envious of that love as well. The two of you shared something so special together, and my brother was so happy when he was with you. And I know there'll never be another Pat in this world, but I'm happy that he met you, because you gave him a lot of happiness. I just wanted to thank everyone. It's overwhelming to see so many people here and truly understand the effect he had on the community here. I just want to say thank you. There's more I would like to say, but I just can't come up with it right now. But thank each and every one of you for your hospitality, the food, everything you've done for us. It's been amazing. Thank you.